Hello YouTube, I've been playing a bit of Ravenwatch, and so I wanted to talk about it. Ravenwatch is a top-down roguelike action RPG from Tech Games, creator of Curse of the Dead Gods, which, from what I heard and read at the time of release, was a pretty good game, so I had high expectations going into this one. In Ravenswatch, you pick one of several characters from fantasy stories such as Red Hood, Aladdin, or Geppetto to go on a quest in solo or co-op with up to 4 players to defeat the nightmares in the world of reverie. So how does this actually play out? You chose your character and then are dropped on a map tasked with killing the boss on it. While on the map, you're on an 18-minute timer to do objectives randomly scattered around the map, ranging from killing enemies on a timer to get stat bumps or passives to collecting items, to fortify the pig's house, to then defend it from incoming monsters. Fighting enemies is what you're going to be doing for 90% of your time in the game, so it is a good thing that the basic combat itself is very good, but more on that later. While walking around the map and completing objectives and killing enemies, you're going to be leveling up. Upon gaining a level, you'll be presented with a choice of 2 character-specific talents, which act as small modifiers to your skills. For example, instead of hiding behind your shield to defend your enemies, you'd shield slam into your enemies to stun them. Or after using one of your skills, your next basic attack is replaced by a flurry of rapid attacks that deal more damage than a normal attack. The enemies come in 3 tiers. You have your normal enemies, your elite enemies, and your bosses. Normal enemies have around 1 to 2 abilities, and while they aren't really a threat, they can still overwhelm you. Especially in the early stages of the game, elite enemies are marked by a shield on their health bars, and have a stagger bar, and usually have a pack of normal enemies around them, and have different abilities from the rest. Like a wolf will have an AoE howl that will make you take more damage, and slightly damage you every few milliseconds. It by itself isn't too dangerous, but considering that normal wolves enroot you in place, it can quickly become dangerous. There's a very decent amount of enemy diversity throughout the whole game, so each individual enemy doesn't really get that boring to fight. For bosses, there's 2 per each of the 3 stages of the game. The bosses' moves are pretty well telegraphed and are pretty different between each other as well, but even though this is a roguelike, the bosses you fight at the end of each stage will always be the same at the same stages. The enemies themselves feel very fair to fight against, and while some of them will feel overwhelming at first, it usually doesn't take long to figure out how to counteract each of the enemies with whatever defensive abilities your character might have. Combat and playstyle is for the most part dictated by your choice of character. For example, a character like Scarlet wants to continuously be attacking enemies to build up her combo bar to unleash her big move on enemies, while for example the Snow Queen wants to control the battlefield via her ice magic to slow and chill enemies, and then detonate the chill for massive amounts of damage. Each character has 6 total abilities, a trait, which for some character is a passive skill, while for others is an active skill, an attack which acts as your standard basic attack as you'd expect in every game, a power skill which will be your biggest damaging move for the most part, a special skill which does damage and provides some utility, which as you can expect is very different per character, a defensive skill which as you might expect provides a defensive utility, be it a parry, move speed increase, etc., as well as a choice of 2 ultimate skills. Every character plays significantly different from each other, and you will for sure find a character you have fun with. You have your expected archetypes of warrior, rogue, and mage, which play as you might expect, as well as some more unique and gimmicky characters such as Geppetto, whose main gameplay is to plop down his puppets and hammer them towards enemies. That's about the gist of the game. You pick a character, you walk around a map, and you kill the 3 nightmare bosses and you're done. So where is the roguelike part? While the layout of the maps themselves will stay the same every run, where each objective is different on every run. On where a part of the map you might have a treasure chest. On another run you might have a skill book, or a locked door to a boss. The talent choices you get upon level up are also random from among a pool of talents you have unlocked for the character you are currently playing. Poor meta progression. You rank up each character by playing the game with them and unlock more talents to use on the runs, as well as the character's story and a few alternate colors. So, what is my opinion on the game? Ravenwatch is a hard game to think about. On one hand, the game looks pretty good for most of it. The character models look very unappealing on the menus of the game while you're selecting the character to play as, but the game itself in movement looks good. The character design itself is also not great, but it's good enough. The enemies are easy to see, and their moves are well telegraphed and easy to see. The particle effects also look really good. All of this comes together to make a game that, for me, passes the vibe check in terms of graphics, albeit just barely. The combat feels very good. You can feel the weight behind each of your sword swings as Beowulf. You can gracefully dance around the battlefield as Aladdin, or tear through the screen with Scarlet. But due to the way the meta progression works, once you find a main, you have no real reason to swap characters ever outside of just wanting to play it, which sounds like a silly reason, but I personally like having a motive to play other characters. Even if you don't like playing a certain character, you'd only be playing it for a little while, and you'd also get whatever reward at the end. So not having a reason means, realistically, I only really care about Beowulf, Aladdin, and Scarlet, but mostly Beowulf. The talents you get from leveling on a run are nice, but aren't really transformative enough to break the routine of constantly playing the same character. And due to how the progression works means that you're burning yourself on the game pretty fast. Also, not having variety on the boss stages means that once you know how to fight each of the bosses, you aren't really threatened by anything in the game. There's also a total of 4 difficulty settings that unlock progressively as you beat them, but the increase in difficulty is entirely artificial. You just get less revival tokens and less XP gains during the game, as well as you can now find corrupted enemies, which are just darker versions of the enemies that deal higher damage and have more health. The game's replay value for me personally is very low. While yes, the combat is very good, when you clear the game, once you'll have seen all of the game, there's no real meat to sink your teeth into like Vampire Survivors or Risk of Rain, for example. The game as it is right now feels like a really solid foundation, but is otherwise very bare bones. Think of it like living in a mansion, but having no furniture in any of the rooms. Maybe at some point there will be a big update or an expansion DLC that will just improve on the replayability, but as of right now I feel like I'm done with at around 20 hours, which might sound a lot, but roguelikes are some of the games I enjoy the most. So this for me was somewhat disappointing. Overall, would I recommend this game? I'd say yes on sale, because the combat by itself carries the game that hard, especially so if you have friends to play around with. I'd rate this game a solid 6 as it is right now. This is a real gem in the rough. I want to like it so much, but there just isn't much for me to like here.
My blade is thirsty. It's meant to scare crows, not drakes. This is a sure skill to master. Stop bragging, Drakeling. An ounce of humility is worth its weight in gold. It seems We have awoken a beast! Shall be free! Where dreams can be trusted. Evil comes in many shapes. Ravenwatch needs to recruit more champions. The battle is not over yet. As long as I draw breath, I shall grow better. Enemy spotted. Aye, the cursed dome is spinning its ire. I reap the harvest of the dead. I'd rather travel in a
Salutations, Dragon Bearer. A judicious choice. These monsters bear a different scent. Power of Tempest! Just keep your claws ready.